Reggie Miller on the call alongside Marv Albert. Eastern Conference Finals between the Bucks and the Hawks on TNT. And Reggie joins us now. What would you ask Scottie Pippen?
His name has been in the news lately, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I probably would ask Scottie. He is perhaps the second half of one of the most famous duos in our game ever, right? I would want to know if he ever won a one-on-one game with Michael Jordan in their prime during practice, because Michael was notorious for playing one-on-one with his teammates. I want to know if at all Scottie ever won one of those games.
Do you think they're friends?
Define friends.
Off the court?
I think they are. Look, they shared too much bub not to be friends. I do. I think they're friends. I think, look, The Last Dance, in my opinion, didn't portray Scottie in the way as a competitor going against Scottie as I felt against him. It was Michael's doc. It was from his point of view.
Yeah, but Mike was rough on him. He didn't have to talk about the dumbest contract ever signed, and I don't know. Hold
on. Let me ask you a question.
Right.
When you were watching that doc, did you say that to yourself? That was the dumbest contract ever signed? Did you say it? I said it. Everyone said it. So when Michael says it, he's wrong.
Does it need to be said how many years later? If everybody knew it, then why does it need to be said again?
Well, Michael loves taking jabs.
That's true.
And I think they're friends because, again, they've shared so many unbelievable moments together. And I do agree with Scottie. There would be no six without Scottie. I do agree with that. But I think where it kind of gets inflated from Scottie's point of view is Michael was definitely the alpha. He's got to understand that. And I think that kind of gets blurred in the lines a little bit with Pip.
But I don't understand this, Reg, because he's saying that when Phil Jackson picked Tony Kukoc to take the last shot in the playoffs against the Knicks 1994, he said, go back and look at it, and you can see it. It was my team. Why are you telling me to take the ball out game-tying shot? He says, read between the fine lines. Then he goes on to say that it was a racial move to give Tony Kukoc a rise. So no further explanation of that.
No. See, I don't agree with that. No. There's plenty of times I've been a decoy on the Pacers team. There's just times when that has to be the case because everyone assumes and knows the ball is going to go to you. And sometimes you have to be a decoy. The whole racial point, no, absolutely not. I don't roll with.
But Kukoc, you only had 1.8 seconds, whatever. Kukoc would have been a better deep shooter than Scottie Pippen.
And he made the shot, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess Phil was right.
But I'm also trying to understand, Scottie, it's like, it's not a midlife crisis because I don't know Scottie Pippen, but it feels like that with the reaction to the documentary. He says what he says about the last shot. He says what he says about Durant, and Durant's not LeBron. And I'm okay with his thoughts on Kevin Durant. I don't agree, but all right, that's his opinion. If he thinks Kevin Durant's not a great team player and LeBron would have made the Nets better, okay, that's his opinion. That seemed to make a lot of headlines just because he was critical of anytime you include LeBron in a conversation and then Kevin Durant fires back, then you got yourself,
It's a fire.
Yeah.
Anytime you're gonna throw out MJ, LeBron, KD, and put yourself in the mix. I mean, you're talking about heavy hitters in our game.
Well, is Kevin Durant a floor? Is he a good team player? Like
Durant?
Yeah, with what you saw in this series.
Absolutely.
Would LeBron have made his teammates better in the same situation? Because that's what Scottie's arguing.
I personally just thought Kevin Durant was fatigued. That to me, that had nothing to do with involving your teammates and being selfish. And I just thought KD was fatigued at that moment of the game of playing every single minute of that game.
Yeah, I kept thinking, okay, using Scottie's logic, then LeBron is going to make Joe Harris make those shots now. James Harden's now going to make some shots. Like, those guys let Durant down. By necessity, Kevin Durant had to
take that shot.
Yes.
Yeah. He was a one-man band in that particular moment, but that is no slight to me. I think the reason why Steve Nash didn't call a timeout, there's no way that Milwaukee was going to be able to set their defense, and I'm going to roll the dice. Kevin Durant's been fantastic for us the last 3 ball games. I'm going to roll with my home run hitter, and he came up short. That's no slight to saying LeBron would have been better in that moment. We've seen the history of Kevin Durant make big-time shots throughout his career. He was half an inch from sending Milwaukee home anyways. Yeah. So I disagree on Scottie on that end. I don't think it's a midlife crisis. I think he just wants people to remember he was the second part of a duo, one of the greatest duos this game has ever seen. And basketball and historians like yourself, like myself, we know. I think it's the generation that's the younger generation really doesn't know who Scottie Pippen is. And the last doc didn't help in terms of how they feel about him.
Reg on the call with Marv for the Bucks and the Hawks on TNT. Watching Chris Middleton, it feels like he's the closer for this team. He's not the star, but when Chris Middleton plays well, the Milwaukee Bucks win. Does he know his role on this team?
Yes, and you are 100% correct. And I think I said that on the air last night. You have to have the ball in his hands 3 minutes or less when the game is close, because Giannis doesn't make free throws and they're going to intentionally foul him. And he doesn't have an offensive game where he can create his own shot. I almost would say Drew Holiday is second in terms of command of having the ball in their hands. Both of those guys can make plays. Giannis is the best player. He's the most talented on that team. He is like, through 3.5 quarters, he's going to set this team up and put them in the right position to win. But when it's closing time, you put the ball in Chris Middleton's hands and let him finish. And case in point was last night. He had struggled in games 1 and 2, 15 points apiece, 30 points in 2 games, and he erupts for 20 in the 4th. That's just how he is. That's how he's built.
Feels like he can win a game for you, but he can lose a game for you.
He can shoot you out sometimes,
yeah.
But I'd rather a player be over-aggressive than under-aggressive. And he kind of shot him out of game 1. He kept shooting and 6 for 23, and I think he wasn't deferring as much as he should have in game 1, and it hurt him. But we also saw the flip side in game 3 for Middleton.
It's amazing that the Hawks are this far, because that lineup is banged up. Now you got Trae Young banged up. It's a credit to Nate McMillan and that team. But I look at that lineup and that bench, and I go, I wonder what they'll be like at full strength next season.
Well, you get DeAndre Hunter back. I give Bojan Bogdanovic a lot of credit. Playing on one leg, he looked a little bit better early on in game 3 last night, in game 4, but it just wasn't quite the same effectiveness that we saw early on in these playoffs, and certainly towards the end of the regular season, to take some pressure off Trae. Then when Trae tweaks his ankle, he came back. He wasn't absolutely. You just don't know where the scoring is going to come from. It's been by committee for them to get to this point, but with all those guys banged up, this is a tall order for them to. Now again, Trae could be fine. He could be at 80, 85% and still put on a great performance. But with Holiday dogging him, picking him up full, being very physical with him. If he can't get around him, and then sometimes when they switch off Giannis on him with that size and length, and then they're funneling him to Brook Lopez, it's a tall order. I agree with you. I give Nate and his staff a lot of credit, but maybe the end is near here. I'm not saying Atlanta cannot come back, but if Trey is not at close to 100% and making some of those crazy shots that we saw before the injury last night, it's going to be very difficult for Atlanta.
You got Clippers Suns coming up tonight, but I can't help but think every time I see a cutaway of Kawhi Leonard, what's his future in playing with this knee that feels like this is going to be there the rest of his career? And does he want to be here? You know, I don't know. He's a mystery here. He's up in the suite, not even down on the floor. I don't know. What do you gather out of this situation?
He's a hard dude to figure out, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knows but Kawhi. I'm sure his teammates know his intentions. And I'm not saying Kawhi's a bad guy. I love Kawhi, from the same hometown. I love his demeanor. I love his game. But look, a knee issue is serious. The fact that we're not getting any updates on it tells me more than, I need to know, because I don't think he's coming back in the series, even if it goes 7 or if they get, to the NBA finals. But it's a little weird that instead of being up in the suite, he would be on the floor, because as a teammate, I could get more information from a 2-time finals MVP in real time, as opposed to him just coming down at halftime, saying, hey, do this, do that, or I see this. I would much rather have my MVP, on the bench, giving Paul George, giving Patrick Beverly, giving Terrence Mann, who's played unbelievable. I mean, Mann could really use a lot of this information from Kawhi, but it is what it is. I mean, it doesn't diminish how great of a player he is.
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to invest, like the Clippers are invested in him, but do I want to have a guy who is, he's high maintenance. Like you really have to gear for him for the regular season, everything about it. I don't know. As they move on, do you move on with Kawhi Leonard?
Well, if I'm a franchise, I'm moving on with Kawhi.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he's when healthy and whole.
Yeah, but I don't know if he will be.
But you saw in that Dallas series alone, in the fourth quarter.
Oh, I know. I love it. I just don't know how consistent that is, Reg. I don't know as they move forward. That knee's not getting any better. Feels like it's chronic. It feels like it's going to be there the rest of his career.
What you want to do is manage Kawhi until you get to the playoffs. And knock on wood that he doesn't get hurt like he did now, with no games in back-to-back. If he can stay healthy, his history has proven that he is a Hall of Famer, 2-time MVP type player, defensive player. So when healthy and whole, I'm rolling with Kawhi. You got to get him there. That's the problem.
I know.
You got to manage and get him there. Once you're there, you let him take over.
If you're Damian Lillard, do you want to stay in Portland? You're bringing in Chauncey Billups. What's that mean for Damian Lillard? Is that going to improve their chances dramatically that he's going to play in meaningful games?
Well, I think the next 3-4 months are going to be very important in terms of what kind of moves Chauncey and that leadership group of the Blazers do. Because I agree, you're going to have to show Damian Lillard, okay, I'm serious about winning the championship here. Because, look, if all the players that have asked to be traded, and Lillard has never said one word. He's been a ride or die with them. I think Chauncey was a great hire for them. I do. Having played against Chauncey, I know his mindset. He's a great communicator. He's a great leader. He's been around. He's a champion. And it's going to have some heartfelt conversations between Chauncey and Lillard. And Lillard has to be open and honest in terms of what he wants. Who would you love to play with? How can we go about executing that and bringing them in? What do you need? Those conversations need to be had, and they need to be had soon. And then you've got to pen to paper and try to go out and build a team around him.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
You think so?
Well, I just don't know. Do you have Dame and C.J. McCollum? Is that?
I think a move maybe has to be made.
Yeah.
With CJ. I can see CJ being on the move because you can get something for McCollum.
Yeah.
You can get a draft pick and a veteran player, depending on where it is. You can get some pieces for McCollum. But, Nurkic is always hurt. What do you do with him? Zach Collins missed all of last year, always hurt. So, you got to get some guys that are not as injury prone, that have some experience and that can win some ball games or help you win some ball games along with Lillard.
Reg will be on the call with Marv Albert. When's your next game?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. Okay. What are you doing all day?
I'm going to go for a run right here in the A and just relax, get ready for tonight's, Suns Clippers game.
Are you big in Atlanta?
I'm huge in Atlanta.
Those fans probably they're not mean spirited down there.
No, not here.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
They're lovable. They're like teddy bears here. Yeah, not at all.
Did you play against Dominique?
Of course. Yes.
All right. Did he ever dunk? No, you never.
He never. No.
No.
But Ole! Go ahead. Ole! Dominique. Ole! To the hoop. That was Derek McKee's job.
Oh,
I was locking up Randy Whitman and Doc Rivers and John Battle. Those were my defensive assignments right there for the Hawks.
Wow. You locking up Randy Whitman.
Hey, that was one guy. Look, I know I was faster than Randy Whitman.
Baseline jumper, Randy Whitman. That's about it. That's all you had to worry about.
Curl, baseline jumper. Curl, baseline jumper.
All right, Reg. Good to talk to you, buddy.
Thank you, Theodore. Love you, Danettes.
That's Reggie Miller. Be on the call tomorrow night with Marv Albert Eastern Conference Finals. Bucks and the Hawks on TNT.